Dr. William Davis here. Let's talk about the dangers of sarcopenia. Now, what is sarcopenia? It's something not often talked about because it was believed to be a problem unique to the elderly. People in their 70s and 80s, and you've seen these people with skinny arms and legs. They have trouble getting around. They often use walkers, canes, or motorized scooters. They can't walk upstairs, sometimes can't navigate their own homes. This is a big problem, and it leads to premature death. It can lead to earlier death. Now, it's often felt to be a problem unique to the elderly. Well, the problem here is that sarcopenia, loss of muscle tissue, didn't start at age 78. It started 30 or 40 years earlier. And what you're seeing in the elderly is the cumulative end result of many decades of losing muscle. So how do you lose muscle? Well, it starts with aging. In your late 20s, early 30s, and each passing year, you lose more and more muscle. So that's a major effect, responsible for about a loss of a third of muscle mass, often more. Another is absurd dietary advice, like cut your total fat, cut your saturated fat, eat more healthy whole grains, or everything in moderation. All those kinds of advice cause you to expand abdominal visceral fat. You may see it on the outside as a protuberant abdomen. You may not. It's not often something you can see easily, but it's fat within the abdomen that encircles the liver and it surrounds the pancreas. This is a problem because it causes insulin resistance and inflammation that causes loss of muscle. There's a second layer to the dangers of abdominal visceral fat caused by silly dietary advice, and that is fat is exported from the abdomen to other locations. For instance, if it goes to the heart, it forms an epicardial layer of fat that accelerates coronary disease, coronary atherosclerosis. If it goes to muscle, this is called myosteatosis. It further impairs muscle. You lose muscle tissue, you lose strength, and it acts like unhealthy fat in your muscle. Another reason has to do with once again, the poor diet advice we've gotten from dietary guidelines. When we're told to cut your saturated fat and cholesterol, most people over the last 40, 50 years have abandoned the consumption of organ meats, rich in collagen and hyaluronic acid, two major factors in reducing abdominal fat and maintaining muscle tissue. Yet another factor is the loss of the microbe, the gastrointestinal microbe, Lactobacillus reuteri. By several mechanisms, restoration of this microbe, nearly everybody's lost because of its susceptibility to common antibiotics. Restoration of this microbe restores youthful muscle and strength. So those are just a handful of strategies you can adopt to counteract age-related muscle loss, and this becomes a real problem if you engage in any effort to lose weight that involved reducing calories. So if you reduce calories in diet, or if you took a pharmaceutical agent like a GLP-1 agonist that reduced your intake of calories, or a bariatric procedure, lap-band gastric bypass, these are all variations of the same thing, reducing calorie intake, and it adds even further to muscle loss. So we have this perfect storm of muscle loss going on as a society, eventuating in sarcopenia, but preceded by decades by progressive loss of muscle. So think about taking steps to prevent that. Never cut calories. Never cut calories. You can do so for a brief period of time, like time-restricted eating or brief periods of intermittent fasting, but never more than about 72 hours. That's when you lose muscle and inch closer to sarcopenia in your future. Think about restoring the things you've lost. Collagen, hyaluronic acid. Please just don't do the bone broth strategy. We now know that bone broth made with prolonged boiling and the addition of vinegar provides overexposure of the heavy metal lead. So you could go back to organ meats, but most Americans don't want to do that. So we use supplemental collagen, likewise hyaluronic acid. So follow my conversations in the williamdavismd.com blog or in my website, innercircle.drdavisinfinitehealth.com. And of course, my other videos where I talk about how to accomplish these things that keep you from going down the path of sarcopenia, losing independence, frailty, all those things that accompany loss of muscle.